Another thing that feminine women do not apologize for is embracing gender roles. Now, not everyone agrees with gender roles, and gender roles are different in different societies and different cultures. But if you are a woman who chooses to embrace traditional gender roles in whatever society you happen to live in, that is nothing to apologize for. People love to try to twist your arm to believe what they believe. If you don't agree with it, they become irate. And that is so controlling. You live your life. If you want to be a traditional wife and have a traditional marriage, a traditional way of having children, all of those things, that's your right. And you don't have to explain or apologize to anyone for doing those things. That's your life, and people don't have to understand why you want things done in a certain way. So, in this day and age where everything is so confusing, everyone is, not everyone, but many people are very confused about their own identities and then about how the home life should function or how a husband and wife should function. People are literally making things up as they live their lives, and it's just honestly very chaotic. If you're someone who has studied, done research, has a relationship with God, and has decided a certain way of living works for you, and maybe it's countercultural, that's okay. And it is nothing to apologize for. It's actually something to be very proud of, because you're doing something that at least makes sense, in the sense that you've seen evidence that it makes sense. You've seen the longevity of how these things play out versus what's going on now, where there's chaos and there's no evidence of how people are going to really turn out and how things are really going to turn out. It's just play as you go, right? So do not feel apologetic about embracing traditional gender roles. And many women who are feminine, who truly embrace their femininity, attract men who prefer traditional gender roles. They love that you love being a woman, and they want you to be as much of a woman as you like. And for a lot of women, that requires freedom to decide if you want to work, when you want to work. Maybe you want to work, and then when you get married, you don't want to work, and you want to raise your children, and then when they're adults, you want to go back to work. But they're just kind of like, whatever you like. But a man who wants a woman to thrive in her womanhood and relax in her femininity typically wants a feminine woman. So there's that.
As a psychologist, mental health is very near and dear to me, and I want to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just need to answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can also message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for you for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist with no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you can get the same professionalism and quality that you expect from an in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you. You will have more scheduling flexibility at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Dr. Michelle. And I've also linked it in the description below. Again, that's betterhelp.com/Dr. Michelle. BetterHelp.com/Dr. Michelle. Thank you so much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this video.
Another area that feminine women should be really unapologetic about is their spiritual life. We all have a spiritual life, whether you embrace it or you don't embrace it. You are a spirit and you live in a body. Your body is not you. You are a spirit living in a body and you possess a soul. Your spiritual life is how you refuel, how you receive and give in the unseen world. And nowadays, there's just a lot going on. We're not going to get into that. But as a feminine woman, embracing your spiritual life is extremely important and nothing to apologize for. People can be very hesitant to embrace their spiritual life publicly because of how other people may perceive them or just out of fear of what could happen to them. And I understand that. But when you're in a situation where there's no reason for fear, there's no reason for you to be downplaying your spirituality, embrace it. Don't apologize for it. If you're having lunch with your friend and you get your food and you know that you like to bless and pray over your food because you don't know who touched it, you don't know what could be in it that could make you sick, and you have a God who loves and protects you as long as you bless it, bless your food. Let them wait a second. They can finish their sentence after you finish praying over your food. But there are some people who say they love God, they're Christians or whatever. But they're so afraid to do something as simple as praying over their food in public, blessing their food. They're so afraid of that. And they feel like they have to apologize for doing what they need to do for their own spiritual life. And it's nothing to be apologetic about. If there's something that happened to you and you know that this was God and you want to say that this was God, say it was God. Don't be so afraid that the other person might not believe in God, so I don't want to say it and hurt their feelings. Like, no. That is your belief. You believe in God. You know God is real. You know what God has done for you. You know God loves you. You know you're his child. Be bold and say it and stand firm in it without being apologetic that you're hurting someone else's feelings. No, you might actually inspire that person. And you're actually called to do that on top of it. If you are a child of the Most High God through Jesus Christ, you are called to do that. You are called to not be ashamed of God. Because if you're ashamed of God, then he'll be ashamed of you. The point is, your spiritual life is beautiful. The fact that you have a spiritual life, you have spiritual principles and morals and beliefs that you embody and live by is beautiful. And it is something to be celebrated and not to be ashamed of. And as you know, I'm not just saying that. You see what I do here on YouTube. It is very easy for me to do videos where I delete God from everything that I do. And I don't express my spiritual beliefs. It's my channel. So if I want to do it, I can do it. If I don't want to do it, then I don't have to. But it's my choice. It's not dictated by what other people want to believe. If people watch my content and they don't believe in God, don't like God, but they want to cherry pick all the other information that I share, that's their choice. But it's not going to ever stop me from talking about my Father God. And it takes courage, and it takes you being rooted in yourself and in your femininity to know that you're going to be true to yourself. You're going to do what you believe is best for yourself. And what I believe is best for myself is sharing Jesus with the world through femininity. So I want to encourage you out there as well to embrace your spirituality, embrace who you are, embrace what you believe, and do not apologize to other people for what you choose to believe. Another thing that feminine women are unapologetic about is having a past. We all have a past. We were all young once. Some of you are young right now, and you've made choices that are poor choices. You've done things that you didn't really know how it was going to turn out, and then you found out. You've learned, you've grown, you have lots and lots of experience in life, and you have a past. You don't need to apologize about your past. Once you have made peace with the person that you used to be, once you have given your life to Jesus and he has cleansed you and washed away your sins, because that is literally why Jesus came and died and rose again was to show you that everything that you did can be done and away with, and you can be renewed. You can be a brand new person through Him and only Him. Once you've done that, you're done. You need to move forward. So many of you are so stuck in your past that you're not able to be the person that God created you to be today. And your past is stopping you from moving forward in your education, moving forward in your health, moving forward in your relationships, moving forward in your job, moving forward in just experiencing life, because you're punishing yourself for things that you've done, or you're afraid that your past is going to catch up to you in some way. God will take care of it. Everyone has a past. I have so many things that I am shocked that I did. Like, when I think about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I did those things, because I was in darkness. I didn't know. I knew what I was doing, but I did not really know what I was doing. And so many of us have experienced things, and for whatever reason, whether it's things that we experience because something happened to us, because someone harmed us, because someone took away our innocence, because we had no direction, or because we just were rebellious, or because we were just genuinely bad people. Whatever. It's in the past, and you do have to move forward. You have to make progression, and you have to receive forgiveness and renewal and grow out of that space. Leave it where it is and become the woman that God created you to be. Another thing that feminine women are unapologetic about are things that are just out of their control. You know, I think it's very interesting when I hear people apologizing for things that they have no hand in. Like, there's no way they could have known. There's no way that this is something they should be apologizing for. It just comes off as having very low self-esteem and just being overly nice to a fault. So, for example, apologizing for the weather. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's so hot today. You had to come all the way out here for this, and it's so hot. You had no control over the weather. You didn't know it was going to be so hot on that day that you planned this thing. You don't need to apologize for the weather. You can acknowledge it, but you don't need to apologize. You don't need to apologize for having certain things in terms of your body, the way your body is shaped, or if you have some sort of deformity, or if you have some kind of illness. You don't need to apologize for that. That is the situation that you are in, and people, once they recognize it, can either accept or reject it. But you do not need to apologize for things that are out of your control. If you have a pimple on your face, you don't need to apologize to people for having a pimple on your face. You know, normally when I do videos, I usually wear like false lashes, and I look very glammed up and all of that. Today I was like, I'm not doing that. And some people, I'll see them on YouTube, they'll come on, they'll say, oh guys, I'm so sorry I look like this. I'm sorry, I don't have my lashes on. You don't need to apologize for that. Now, if you end up looking a certain way and you were supposed to maybe be dressed up and you're dressed down and you did not realize that, then yes, you should apologize. But if you knew you were supposed to be dressed up and you came dressed down, then, I mean, either you should just not even come. First of all, because that's rude. But if you couldn't, let's say you could not go home because something happened, then sure, apologize for it. But otherwise, apologizing for your appearance or your hair or certain things that are just not necessary for you to apologize for is something that feminine women just don't do. It is what it is. And you can acknowledge something without apologizing for it, like it's something that you created or you have a hand in. And for people who grew up, unfortunately, in situations where you experience a lot of abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, verbal abuse, or physical abuse, then yes, this is something that you probably will need therapy for or counseling for, because people, adults, put it on you to feel that things that really were not in your control were your faults. And maybe it distorted your reality of what is your fault and what isn't your fault. And I pray that God will heal you from that pain, because it is hard when you really truly don't know what you caused and created. But just know that most of the time, you don't need to apologize for it. It really is okay. And even if you do, there's a lot of grace for you. You are forgiven. And it's usually very, very minor. And right in line with that, I'll also add apologizing for transitional stages in your life. As a woman, you go through a lot of transitions, and your body goes through a lot of transitions, especially if you enter motherhood. Your body changes. If you have multiple children, your body changes. You're not going to look the way you looked at 22 when you're 55, and that's okay. It's actually beautiful. It's more than just okay. It's beautiful. You've lived, you've experienced, and having to apologize for your body because you just had a baby is something that feminine women don't do. You embrace every stage of your life. After I had my baby, let me show you a picture of how I look. People still thought I was pregnant. I went to the nail shop and the woman literally asked me how far along I was. I was like, Lord. Did I care? No, I did not care. And that's because I knew I just had a child. I knew my body has gone through so much. I'm enjoying this stage that I'm in right now, and eventually I will lose the weight. I will not stay in this place forever, but this is where I am right now. And as a feminine woman, you embrace where you are. If you're pregnant and your nose is huge and you look, wild in your eyes, okay, you're beautiful. You're carrying a beautiful baby. And yeah, your face is going to change, and that's okay. Your body's going to change, and that's okay. But don't sit there and talk bad about yourself and apologize to people for being what you consider fat when you're actually not fat. You're just pregnant. And talk bad about yourself. I see women doing that, or making jokes on social media about how they look when they're pregnant. And it's very disturbing because it's a beautiful gift. And every part of that gift is to be embraced, including the fact that you may not look like a supermodel on Vogue magazine at 8 months pregnant. Enjoy everything and don't apologize for the different ways your body is going to transition as you live out your life. Okay, seriously, because the video is getting so long, I'm just gonna leave you with one last thing, and the rest I will leave on my podcast. So if you are not familiar, I do have a podcast. It's called The Dr. Daf Show, available on every podcast platform. You can visit the podcast and you can listen to the rest, because the podcast is for the people who really, really want the information and are willing to just listen to like an hour of information. I don't want to keep you here longer than you wanted to be here. So I will leave you with one last thing that feminine women are truly unapologetic about, and that is being kind to their children and their husband, and being willing to voice their love for them. This actually really hurts my heart sometimes when I think about it, especially, I have to say this, especially I have seen it personally in the Black community, where we are so hard towards our children and our husbands. Being able to express your love for your husband and your children is a beautiful thing. Whether you are doing it in front of them, in front of other people, online, saying, I'm so proud of my son. He is such an amazing boy. I am so proud of my daughter. She's done a great job with this. I love my husband so much. I respect him as a man of the house because he does whatever. Like, being able to say it without feeling like so far from your emotions that you cannot express your love to them, especially publicly. So what I mean by this is that I see a lot of mothers and fathers talking so awfully, so mean, so bitterly towards their children, young children, especially in public. So maybe their 3-year-old is running around, they're like, sit your little butt down, you little bad boy. And they're talking to them with so much aggression and so much anger, and to them it's not that way. So like, they don't perceive it that way. They sometimes think that they're just being like playful or joking, but there's no softness, there's no love, there's no comfort for those children. And I've been in situations where I'll say something like, yeah, my son, he's very active. I have to keep up with him. And they'll say, yeah, my son's a little bad boy. He can't ever sit his little butt down. And it's like, but why? But why? And I'm not saying you're a bad parent, but what I'm saying is that, do you ever have a moment of softness? Do you ever have a moment where you're not having to prove to someone else that your children are not loved? Maybe you just do that in public, and when you get home, you're all snuggles with your baby, you're kissing them and you're loving on them. Maybe it's just an appearance, but to me, that's the issue. If you feel like you have to appear rough with your children in order to seem like you're not a soft, beautiful, feminine mother, or you have to appear like you hate your husband and complain about him all the time and try to one up the person who's complaining about their husband by telling them how ridiculous your husband is, instead of shining light on the positive aspects of your marriage, or bringing some sort of clarity to the situation. Like, maybe they're complaining about their husbands and you can say, oh yeah, I can understand that. Like, I've experienced that too. But just know that he's probably trying his best, or give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was really this, instead of bantering with them and adding fuel to their fire just to be that way. So maybe I'll do a video specifically about this so I can kind of get my thoughts more in order with this conversation, because I think emotionally I really do not like seeing it, because our children need so much love and tenderness and care and comfort from their parents and their caregivers that there's really no room for pointless aggression, pointless, just trying to make them feel discomfort or feel like they can't have things, or that they can't have your love just because. That actually really is something that really needs to be fixed in this community. And as a feminine woman, you can fix it by being unapologetic about what other people think. If they're all yelling at their sons, smacking them on the head, and doing that just to do it, you don't have to do that. You can give your son a big hug and give him a big compliment and a big kiss, and discipline them when you need to as well, but not in rage, but in love, in kindness, in softness, in femininity. And if you were raised that way, I am sorry. That doesn't mean it was right just because you were raised that way. You can break that cycle, and you can, by you embracing femininity and you embracing the things that I teach here, you will become a beautiful feminine mother for your children. You will become a mother that they will love to be with, to share their problems with, to become close to form a true loving relationship with, because they'll know that you love them and you love yourself and you love being their mom. Okay, well, I'm going to leave you with that, my love, because I think we talked about a lot of things. The point is, be unapologetic about the way that you live your feminine lifestyle. Not in an arrogant way, not in a haughty way, but in a way where you are strong in your convictions about who you are as a woman. You love yourself, you love the people in your life, you love God, and you want to shine in a world full of darkness. I love each and every one of you so much, and I'm so grateful that you spent your time here with me. I hope that this video blessed you. Please share this video with anyone that you think may want to see it or could encourage, and let me know in the comments what you think and what are some ways that you are unapologetically feminine. Let me know what points really resonated with you, or some areas that you need to work on. And if there's any way that I can help, leave me a comment on video topics that will be very helpful to you. I always write them down when I see them in the comments so that I can do content on it in the future. Follow me on my Instagram at Dr. Michelle Daff and at The Dr. Daff Show, and listen to my podcast, The Dr. Daff Show, on all podcast platforms, and visit my fragrance line if you love to smell good, fineforever.com. And I will see you in the next video. I love you all so much. Mwah. Bye-bye. You're the only